Hello everyone, it is so good to have you here. Now, let me just take you back to June 2023 for a moment. And we had an awful tragedy that actually happened, which has recently actually been made into a Netflix documentary. We had the unfortunate incident of the Titan sub that was visiting the Titanic, and it had some paying passengers aboard, and it unfortunately imploded, and there was a number of people that lost their lives. Now, I commonly have people connect to me from the spirit world whenever I'm watching documentaries, and this occasion was no different. I had Stockton Rush, who was the CEO of OceanGate, connect through to me. Now, this isn't the first time that Stockton has connected to me. If you have been a long time follower of mine, you will probably remember that back in June 2023, whenever this happened, I was getting a lot of connection through from Stockton, and he was bringing me a lot of different information through around the time of the accident, just after the accident happened. And the reason for that was because 4 months earlier, I had posted a snippet onto TikTok. It is pinned at the top of my profile if you want to watch it, but I am going to share a little snippet with you here in this video, so stay here with me for now. I actually was in the middle of recording a podcast, and a person came through and connected to me from the spirit world. I actually initially couldn't remember his name. I knew that I recognized him. I knew that he was an actor and he was very famous, but I couldn't think of his name. And whenever I went off and I Googled in the middle of this podcast, it was actually Bill Paxton, the actor Bill Paxton. So one of the movies that Bill was actually well known for was Titanic. He played the role of Brock Lovett, and within the Titanic movie, he almost had a very similar role to that of Stockton Rush. You know, he was an explorer, he was an adventure, creator, and in the Titanic movie, he was leading the team that were searching for the heart-shaped diamond, the heart of the ocean. And he was actually going through and bringing bits up from the surface using their remote equipment, the ROVs that they had at the time, obviously, that were being used in the movie. Now, in addition to that, he actually had a very strong connection with the Titanic anyway, because on the lead up to the movie, he spent a lot of time with James Cameron and actually went and visited the Titanic himself with James Cameron whenever they were preparing to make the Titanic, and that footage was later used within a documentary. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was something Into the Abyss. So he actually had a very strong bond and a very strong connection with the Titanic himself. So I'm just going to play you a very short snippet here of the message that he brought me through. I've just had a man appear to me, and I have connected with this man before. He is another celebrity. He was an actor. I can't remember his name, but I've only connected to him a few times. And it was whenever I first connected to Chester Bennington, I had connected to him, and I had also connected to Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious on a few occasions. And them two were together. So I don't know whether they had some kind of a connection on the earth that is then carried over into the spirit realm. But I'm just going to take a minute and just figure out who he is, because I can't remember his name. Okay, so it's Bill Paxton is the man who has stepped forward. So I remember he was in Titanic, which might be why he has decided to step forward. But as he's coming through to me, like, I can just see him very, very clearly. I can see his face. So that's how I knew who he was. And he is actually coming through with a message to deliver. It is a future vision. The information that he's actually showing me is that there is a disaster that's set to occur, which is quite unfortunate. And what he is showing me is a ship, but he's showing me a ship that's smaller than the Titanic, I think. I'm not seeing something that's as large as the Titanic. I just wanted to clarify that. And he is showing me something that isn't as large as the Titanic. What he's showing me is some errors of judgment in the construction. And he's looking underneath the ship, or in the internal parts of the ship, and he said that it's not sufficient.
and it's not been checked thoroughly. Now, I don't know if this is a ship that is on her maiden voyage or if it's something that has occurred previously where, she's been used and has been in circulation. I'm not sure. However, what he has shown me is that there is something that needs to be looked at that hasn't been looked at. So they're confident that this is set to occur. When he's drawing me to the health and safety measures, he has said that they're not sufficient. Okay, so I know that there's something there where health and safety hasn't maybe been properly adhered to. Okay, he is showing me the ship touching the ground. So I would be submerged. I would be expecting that it would either be fully submerged and it would sink, or there will be something happen where it is closer to shore, perhaps, or in a shallower part of the ocean. He's not really making that clear. All I'm saying is that it will sink, okay? And I don't know if that's going to be in the darkest, depths of the ocean or if it's going to be closer. But he is showing me that that is set to occur.
Now, as you can imagine, at that time, I was quite taken aback whenever that happened. I connect obviously to spirit, I connect to God quite regularly. This is a daily thing for me. However, I was in the middle of recording a podcast about something completely different whenever this came through. So it really did catch me off guard. But even now, I can remember Bill saying to me, submerge, submerge, submerge. And all I seen was this boat sinking down to the bottom. I think I used boat, I used ship. To me, I was being shown the Titanic. He was talking about the Titanic by name, and I was seeing something that was smaller. Now, I have apart from having been on boats before, I don't really have any experience. I have no experience of the boating industry or, the different types of vessels that we have. All I was seeing was this boat that was smaller than the Titanic, and I seen passengers boarding it, and then I seen it sinking and hitting the bottom of the ocean. At the time, I hadn't drawn the connection, and I wasn't being given enough information to necessarily draw the connection that it was something that was visiting the Titanic. But obviously since then it all has made sense, especially with Bill's connection that he had to the Titanic, the movie, and the wreckage itself. Now I have Stockton actually with me now. He just comes in on this side of me whenever I'm seeing him in my vision. The reason that he really wanted to come through and convey a message, I'm just seeing him being poked in the back by God. It's almost like he has needed to come through in order to get this off his chest and to help us learn as a group, as a collective, from some of the mistakes that he made. Now, I really enjoyed the documentary. I thought it was incredibly well put together. I thought it was very sympathetic to the situation that actually happened on its last sort of voyage. The one thing that really stood out to me was how ego-driven Stockton Rush was. Throughout that came through very, very apparent that he was a man that was very, very in his ego. And it really pointed out to me how dangerous that can actually be. Often whenever I'm talking about being in egos, whether it's myself or other people, I'm thinking that we're maybe being a little bit too up our own backsides. Do you know what I mean? Like we're being just a bit too pretentious. We're spending money that we maybe don't necessarily have to try and gain the validation from other people. Maybe, buying that expensive car that you can't really afford, or turning your nose up at something or someone. There's so many different behaviors that we can have whenever we're in our ego. There's so many different behaviors that we can portray. However, this was a situation where people's lives were on the line. It was incredibly dangerous. And all I could actually think at the time was, gosh, can you imagine what it would have been like if he was leading a country? This was a relatively small scale operation, but at the same time, he was a very charismatic man. He was very knowledgeable. He came across very confident in his convictions. So, we heard from a lot of people in the documentary that had really bought into him and, looked up to him and thought, yes, this is a man that knows what he's doing. This is a man that I feel safe with. Now, likewise, there was other people there that started to get bad feelings and didn't want to be in Titan. They didn't want to go on, I can't remember what they called the projects, but they didn't want to go on a dive. They didn't want to be, responsible for putting people into that because they didn't feel that it was safe for various different reasons. Now, one of the things that Stockton has really brought through to me here, and he's just talking to me as I'm talking to you, and he's actually said that he had a god complex. He thought not only was Titan indestructible, which he does use the word, that phrase, that specific phrase on the documentary, but he also thought he was indestructible, and he thought that he was infallible. So he really thought that he was a god of sorts. Even whenever he's coming close to me now, he's putting this energy onto me of somebody that is really supercharged and in their power and really in control. And that is fine. That can have very many plus sides to it. But he was so hell-bent on making this project work and was so eager to almost like make sure that it was delivered, keep any investors happy. He wanted to pitch it. He wanted to be seen as being somebody that he just kept brushing things under the carpet. Any red flags, he was just trying to get them away. I'm just seeing things being brushed under the carpet here. One of the things that he really said was that it's really important to learn from his mistakes, to learn from his experience, and to be aware of whenever we're acting out of our ego rather than in alignment with our heart. But it's also really important to be accountable and to be holding other people accountable. So if we have the tendency, don't we? We all have, careers, jobs, we have homes to keep, maybe kids to feed, bills to pay. So whenever we're in a situation where we're faced with wrongdoing or something that we don't feel is right or that we don't feel is very comfortable, it can be quite easy for us to ignore that because we know that our job depends on that, our livelihood actually depends on that, and it really requires that we go against the grain of who we are as people, and again, it means that we're brushing things under the carpet. He is really emphasizing the importance of holding people to account regardless of the risks involved in that, regardless of what you're laying on the line yourself, regardless of what you stand to lose, because that's the only way that we're going to combat these sort of people and this sort of behaviour. He carries a lot of shame, he has said, about what he has experienced and what he put people through and the lives that were lost and the grief that happened from that. He said he was a very pig-headed person. He said that. And he was so hard-headed that nothing was going to get through to him. So no matter who spoke up to him at the time, he just wasn't really prepared to do anything about it. He wasn't prepared to change, or he wasn't prepared to acknowledge it. And what he's showing me here is him being supercharged. So he was really prepared to just go full throttle towards what he wanted, and it doesn't matter about the cost. What he has said is, sorry, excuse me, there was an insufficient amount of people that was prepared to stop him. So if there had have been more people that actually would have put a little bit more force on him, it maybe would have helped him slow him down a little bit and make him think things through. But there wasn't really enough people that were prepared to stand up to him. And that's the unfortunate part, because if we have, he's just saying that there's power in groups, there's power in numbers. If we put our heads together as a collective, it doesn't matter who we're going up against, whether it is a world leader or a church leader or someone in a corporate entity. It really doesn't matter. Whenever we club together, there is power in numbers. He said, don't underestimate your power. Don't underestimate the impact that you can make. And don't allow yourself to be swayed, even when the cost to yourself is large, okay? So he carries a lot of shame. He's very apologetic. He wants to help others do things differently. What I really find is that whenever people have crossed over into the spirit world, that they change. It's almost like the good parts of us really go over. He's just extended his arm. He's just saying to shake your hand. So that's him finished. He has said his piece. He is finished here. He's going to return now. And really, I wanted to leave you with this message yourselves, that you can actually contemplate this. Whenever we're acting from a place of ego, we're doing things to please other people or to gain attraction or to gain notoriety in some way. That is a really dangerous place to be whenever we're there for too long. Whenever we're acting from a place of alignment, it's usually coming from a need to do the right thing. It's coming from the heart. And what I would really encourage you to do as a test for yourselves and a test to those that are in power as well, positions of power within your life or within the world, actually question, where is their motivation coming for the choices that they're making? And the same question to yourselves, what is motivating me to make this decision? Whenever I'm buying the new car or I'm spending out all of this money on the lease, is it because I want people to see me driving it and I want people to think, well, they've made it, they're really successful? Or is it because you can easily afford it and you just want it? It's going to make your heart happy. And, this is a dream car for you. And do you know what I mean? Am I making sense? So question your motivation behind the decision. Are you making the decision for other people? Or are you making it for yourself? If no one else was to ever see you in that car, would you still spend the money on it just for you? Okay, that is a really great way for us to actually understand how aligned we are, and we can use the same example whenever it comes to actually testing the leaders that are in our world or in our lives as well, and understand where their motivation comes from. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. I do have another couple of predictions and prophecies to release in the coming days, so leave that with me. I will spend some time and put all of those together. I seem to be getting a lot more information coming through again. I'd had a little bit of a period where I wasn't really getting a lot of world predictions and events that were set to come to fruition, but I am going to start delivering those. Again, I had a good conversation with God today, and he gave me 2 different things that he wants me to sort of speak of. So I just want to sit with those a little bit and create some space where I can give them the proper attention that they need. So keep an eye out. Subscribe to my channel if you want kept up to date with other things that come up and come out from me, any new videos that I post, and also like and comment as well. If you like the video, it lets other people, it lets the algorithm know that it is worth watching. If you have any questions or you've really enjoyed it and you would like to leave some feedback, pop a comment in as well. I really like to hear if people are enjoying the content, if you're getting something from it, has it resonated with you? That is really helpful for me as well. Now, you can actually get my book on Amazon. The link is in my bio. I'll pin it below as well. It is Wisdom Proverbs for Today. So we've talked a little bit about ego here and making sure that we're acting from our hearts and from an aligned place. The book Wisdom is something that I channel through from God, and it is loads of different little bits of wisdom that not only help us live a better life, but they help us understand ourselves better and help us deal with any of the challenges or the hurdles that we come up against in life as well. So you can check that out. Link is in the bio. You can buy it on Amazon, and you know what? Follow me on the other channels as well. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I am here. I'm going to be posting a lot more out to YouTube. I feel really driven to focus on this channel at the moment. And it has been great being here, and I will be back again soon. Hopefully I will see you again.